Mate, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Sorry,
John, I'm good, thank you. I'm good, mate.
no
How are
worries,
you?
mate. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. Good. So before we get stuck into your rugby story, Ollie, where was home for you and who lived at home with you?
Where is home for me? So home is Bridgend, South Wales.
Yeah.
Born and bred here. And then yeah, mum, dad, older brother who plays rugby league in Australia, and then a younger brother that doesn't play, but that's the family.
Right, mate. And do you reckon that competitive edge was always there then, Ollie, having one brother older, one younger?
Yeah, I don't know about you, John, but having two brothers as siblings, mate, it's a crazy house. So I think my mum was glad to get rid of us. We were always fighting, wrestling, sports in the back garden, coming dirty all the time. But yeah, I think that's probably stemmed a lot of the competitiveness in myself and definitely my older brother. My younger brother doesn't play sports. I think he was better at other things. But yeah, me and my older brother definitely just constantly competing with each other.
Yeah. And obviously not wanting to preempt anything, mate, but Wales is well known for the Rugby Union, mate, isn't it? The other code to most of our listeners and viewers. So was Rugby Union the first part of call, or was that where you were introduced to rugby and who was your first club?
Yeah, so my rugby union from the age of 7 till 15, 16, I believe. And then from that, then basically at that era, I don't know if it's the same now, but it was all about size. Um, so me being 5'8", 5'7", in between that, depending on which day it is, John. Um,
Yeah.
I got tapped on the shoulder. I went through all the academies and county teams, and then it got to a certain age where everyone started developing. I remember the coach telling me, "Mate, you're just too small." And really, probably the best thing that ever happened to me was that. And then took the detour then to rugby league, playing at originally my amateur team was Bridgend Blue Bulls, and then from that then we got scouted into Celtic Crusaders when they were a Super League team
Yeah.
um, down here, or within the championships, and then went into Super League, and I did the academy there, and then after one game, Barry McDermott was the head of development of Leeds Rhinos, and he asked me. Well, they offered me a trial for 6 months at the age of 17, and then after that, then they offered me another season after that, and yeah, went from there.
Mate, so Bridgend Blue Bulls is where John Devereux played, didn't he? John had the spell there.
Yeah,
A good, so that's a nice little mutual ground for us, mate. But so when you go back, mate, then regional stuff and like your club stuff, how was you in a new environment, Ollie? Was you comfortable in it, mate, even as a young age?
in league, you mean in playing like transition into rugby league?
Oh, so go back to when you were playing rugby union as a kid, mate, and you're hitting all the markers, aren't you? You know, as a kid, so you're playing club rugby, regional.
Mm.
You're floating around the academies. You're saying because there's only, if viewers listeners don't know, there's only four full time region academies, isn't there, mate? So
Yeah.
they've got a lot to pick from. So how was you in that environment?
Growing up playing union, like it was great. I remember we had a school tournament in Roslyn Park in England, and there's a seven-a-side tournament. I remember like the age of 13, we won it all, and I actually got player of the tournament in this pretty prestigious sevens tournament, and got
Yeah,
sponsored. There's a magazine called Rugby World Magazine, and
yeah,
I got player of the month in that, the youngest ever player to do it. So everything from there was a trajectory of like going to make it down the union path. And yeah, it was never, probably to the age of 15, there was never a thought of, oh, I'm going to go to league. It was always union, union, union growing up. And then, yeah,
yeah.
just this age of there, that's where the crossroad really happened and the bittersweet of it all.
Right. And how was school for you, mate? Was it something you enjoyed?
I enjoyed school because I was good at rugby. So I enjoyed it
Yeah,
because not the educational part, because I got away with murder because my school was a pretty prestigious school. We had the likes of the rugby league names. We had Kevin Ellis there, late transition Gavin Henson played there, uh, a former British Lion, I believe. Well, John Dever was there, and Reese Webb, who recently finished playing. The school is saturated in former professionals. So I was just one of many others that was lucky enough to do it with Josh Navidi, who played in the British Lions recently, the most recent one.
Yeah.
But yeah, regarding school was just sports, and Bryn was a pretty big school. We won the Power Gen Cup at a young age. Like Kevin Ellis was our sports teacher for that, and he took us through the youngest. Yeah, we won the DC Thomas. The Power Gen Cup against Cass High at Millennium Stadium, early 2000s, I think.
Mate, so is that where Reece Evans went then? Because these are all ringing bells, the names, yeah.
So me, Reece Evans, Ben Evans were all in the same class. And
right, okay.
So at that stage, after that tournament, Ben and Reece got picked up by Warrington Wolves. And then a little bit later, I got scouted by Leeds. So yeah, they left pretty early. Right. I think they left 13 or 14-year-old. They left.
Okay, mate. So what position are you playing at this point, Al?
In leagues, was standoff.
Yeah, in Union, you're playing fly half in the
fly
terms,
half,
isn't it, mate? Yeah. Right. And how do you see the game differently, mate? Because as much as you've got it organised, there's semi two different positions, aren't they?
Yeah. I think fly half or number 10 in Union is very much, you're not looking too far, like five's like a set of six. You're looking to get to a position to play. I think in Union it was very much truck kick or crash ball to go again, but they are two very diverse sports. I know they're the same thing, as there's a similar shaped ball in it, but apart from that, I think league and Union are very far between each other now.
Yeah, hopefully you weren't at the bottom of a ruck too much, mate. Not the old school rucks anyway.
Yeah. I've had many of those rakes. I'm glad that I never got to one of them.
No, mate, no. So when you're going through the ranks then, mate, is playing for a prolific, because the school ended up being prolific, mate, in it, is that a hindrance or is it an advantage, do you think?
What, because of it being such a sports dominated?
Yeah.
Hard to say, John, because being in that environment of so many good players that have come before us, like they already had the structures in place for us to develop. Like they've seen the journey of other players before us. So the only one that was a rare one was obviously Ben and Reece Evans going to Warrington at the age of 14 or something like that. Normally, someone was getting scouted to go to Union, but that was a massive move. But I think the school just, like, you walk through that school and there's plaques, jerseys, everyone that's played international or played for the region or British and Irish Lions, so I think that was the drive. You see plaques on the wall of like Rob Howley or Gavin Henson or even Kevin Ellis playing for Great Britain, things like that. It just gives you that thing, well, it's achievable. So I don't think it was a hindrance. I think it was actually more of you're in the right environment.
A motivator. Yeah, because mini corridor, mate, you'd walk down and you might get one or two that break through. Not even international, but like really good club level. Yeah. Even if it's like League One, League like Championship, really good still, mate, in it. But to walk down and see like Great Britain International, Lions at the pinnacle of any like viewers and listeners, whether you watch Rugby Union or not, you know about the Lions. It's a big franchise almost, if not as big as the All Blacks, isn't it, mate? And it must have been daunting at times. Because them positions you've mentioned, these are all in positions where the names are massive as well.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was a big fan of like Gavin Henson growing up, and he late, like at the end of his career, had a little go at the Scorpions for a little. Oh no, Raiders.
Yeah. West Wales, yeah.
But I remember growing up, this was a stage where he was at his all-time best. I think he kicked that conversion against England. He had the fake tan. I remember like going into school, putting on a bit of mum's fake tan just to be like him. Do you know what I mean? So it was good times, man. But yeah, I think having that around you is unbelievable. There's just so much history there.
Right. And do you know when you rock up to like the regional stuff, mate, in Welsh Rugby Union, what's the logistics? How does all that work? What's the selection process?
So for instance, you've got your club level, and then after that, then they call it districts, so like your counties or whatever, and then after that, then because it got cut down to 4 regions,
Yeah,
this county would play against this county, or like this district would play against this district, and kind of like you'd have selectors which would be watching the games, and then they would just go from there. They pick a 30-man team, I believe, and that would basically be like, all right, you're in the Ospreys Academy, but you could never go over to the Blues. You could never go over to the Dragons or Scarlets. This was your catchment. So that was
yeah,
the downfall as well. Maybe there was probably more populated players, as I just mentioned, in Bridgend, but we all had to go to the Ospreys. But maybe if we were allowed to go to the Blues or go to the Dragons or to the Scarlets, there might have been more opportunities, because yeah, it was probably a lot of people I can reflect back on now that should have made it, but they didn't make it.
yeah. No, they're making their own sufferance, really. The Welsh Rugby Union, there, aren't they? Make like limiting you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't know because like up here, for instance, it's when we're. So how old are you, Ollie? Sorry.
I'm 30.
Right, so I'm older than you, mate. I'm 34 this month. So when I was coming up, you had to have like a relative live in
Mm,
another town to be able to play for a club in that other town. Like that sort of thing, like a distant auntie or something, and you could like black basically. So in effect, sounds like as a loophole, that's what you might have had to have done if you wanted to go to the Blues or the Dragons.
100%. Yeah, like
So
as far as I remember trying to like inquire to try and get to the Blues, but it was literally like that's not your catchment. You're not eligible, regardless of who if you was better than that player or not. They just didn't, and then yeah, you kind of just go back down to the districts or counties then.
So do you know when you're playing in the cup quarters, cup semis, cup finals, are you finding them as competitive as the regional trial stuff
Um, as in like playing like club level rugby union compared to the
and
regions.
school finals? Yeah, and school finals.
I'd say the school finals were definitely just as competitive, because like the teams we were playing against, some of them would be predominantly um, maybe go to a region. I remember, like, for instance, our school was predominantly like a sports school. So a lot of people, when they get to a certain age, maybe 15 in school, and they started like recognizing they wanted to take rugby or something seriously, they would start to convert and leave their school and come to ours. So when we got to that age, a lot of these other teams we play in finals were like full of Cardiff Blues players, and we had full of Ospreys players. So we were like, there was it was basically like a mini region without the name of it on your jersey.
So basically just an academy clash, mate, isn't it, with a
Yeah,
trophy on offer? Yeah.
yeah,
So did you ever get disheartened then, mate, when you wasn't selected in the regional stuff, and then, like you said, the size didn't come up? I know hindsight's nice, we can say that now, can't we? But
yeah. Oh, it definitely hurt. It definitely left a bit of pill in me. I remember phoning the coach and asking him, it would have been there 15 it would have been, and I said, mate, I've made every district prior to this. What is it in particular this time? He said, oh no, nothing, mate. You went well. Just you're just lacking that size, and that's something that frustrated the heck out of me. But I suppose for some people they go left, and some people go right.
yeah,
And I used it, and I was like training harder than ever. I remember getting my running shoes out and doing some hills and going road running and really putting it down. And then I'd look at rugby league and I'd see like little Rob Burrow playing, and I'm like, hang on. And then players before that, like Jonathan Davis, when he played, like he wasn't a big player. So, you know, that was probably a real, like if I reflect on that transition, that made it easier. Like I remember sometimes going, oh, I would like to stay at Union, but I had so much anger towards it that I went, nah, screw this, I'm going to go league way. And the doors were just opening. Like when I went league, I remember it like just playing. Like I felt more myself in that sport. To be fair, I felt like I could be free. So we just
yeah.
started working then.
Because growing up, out from on my behalf up here, there's definitely a class issue for kids. So if your mum and dads don't do a certain job, if they don't drive a certain car, if you don't play for a certain club or go to a certain school, you're already 1-0 down, mate. That's how it felt.
Yeah, I probably agree with that, John. But I'd saying that I think that like the private and public school type of thing, it's not really big growing up in Wales because we're such a minority. We didn't have that, but at the same time, like I definitely know what you're saying. Like if you played against Cardiff teams, they definitely have the flash cars and this, that, and the other. Like for me, mum works at Tesco's and dad was a mechanic, so there was no flash car for me. It was literally rocking up in a little Mondeo or something like that, you know.
We had the Cavalier, mate. You probably can't remember the Cavalier and stuff.
Yeah, I remember him, mate. But yeah, you
Yeah.
know, I think it just builds character and really, it was weird maybe growing up seeing those people rock up with like the flash kit and the new boots, and you actually grow an extra leg. You're like, I want to do you over today, so use that as motivation. I think growing up, I used a lot of that.
Oh, so what was the plan leaving school, mate? Was rugby still a big focus here at this point, and you were just gonna subsidise it with like a college or a sixth form, or did you want to go into the working world?
I remember it well. I remember we had this period at 15 or 16 maybe we could do work experience for like a week, and my dad was like, "Look, you ain't gonna go to uni. You better go get a trade." And he was like, I remember he goes, "There's a brickie down the road that did some work for our family once." He said, "I'm gonna ask him." And next thing you know, I was doing a bricklaying apprenticeship from the age of 16 onwards. But it was a bit tricky because that was at the age where like rugby was really striving.
Serious.
Yeah, so it was kind of like being on a trowel or mixing cement and then going to training in the night, and then thank God then at the age of 17 like Leeds Rhinos popped up because I didn't want to really be on the building site much more after that. It was the worst initiation.
He's a graft as well, isn't it?
And just the way they'd speak to us at that age, like I've been shouted at, but it's a different mentality with Bricky shouting at you on site. So John, I was scarred for life on that one. So yeah.
So when you were invited to the Crusaders, mate, how did that come about? So that come about a school's final, did you say?
Yeah, we played a school final, and then we had some trials after it, like open to everyone. And at the time, the head coach was John Dixon for the first team, and Anthony Siebel was his assistant. And Anthony Siebel's obviously done extremely well. And Kevin Ellis was kind of involved in the Crusaders at that stage, and obviously seeing what we did at a younger age, we got trials, and then I got selected to like the Celtic Crusaders under 16s and 18s, and we were playing against like the National League One competition. So every second weekend we were traveling up on a bus on a Sunday morning, playing a game, then coming back, and then going back to college on Monday. And that was kind of my journey into the sport. Obviously playing like the Power Gen and stuff like that in school, but like actually getting into the academy was, that 16-year-old.
And was it? So you spoke about the transition before, but from a different perspective. How did you find the transition, just practically, mate? And like the intricacies are very different, Ollie, aren't they?
Oh yeah, I remember just like even the fundamentals. Like we were literally when we were 13, we were literally playing Union in a league game, without just. And then when we got to 16, understanding even the fundamentals of the 6 o'clock pass, tackle technique, grapping, holding in levers, head position on the floor, all of these things started to come in, and it was really like an eye opener because we literally didn't know. We were literally just tackling like Union, going low, and then, we did like these training, like these camps basically, and understand like block plays and getting a 3-man and 2-man and even down to like things like calling things a scoot and just like really understanding the
instead of rabbiting.
yeah. So John, it was like it was different, but then I don't know when you get on the field, I think when you could throw the ball around, you understand the 2-on-1. You like something about your brain just picks up and sees space and okay, well I'm going to do a drop, pretend to do a drop off here or cut out the back or do a face ball or out. You know what I mean? So we could identify space, but for us, it was more about learning to get the places and why we get the spots on the field and who are we trying to actually dig into here and what's the purpose of it. That was the real learning. And then as a halfback, I was like, that's where you've got your textbook out and understanding it. But it did take a while, though. It did take a while to click in those aspects.
That's it, mate. Ideally, you want 13 in rugby union one-on-one, don't you? Where therefore in rugby league, you want your 3 or 4 one-on-one. Principle's the same, just a little bit harder to get there sometimes, isn't it? And stuff. So how did you find that standard, Ollie, at 16 and 18? Obviously, you were good enough to step up, wasn't you? Because we'll talk about it in a bit. But was it a challenge enough to keep you interested, mate, considering where you've come from?
You know what? It was a breath of fresh air, to be honest, John. Like, from feeling how I felt at 15 and being told that in 16 this happened and we were winning games. We were like we won the National League, Conference League, whatever it was called. We won that, and we were like, even though the long travels up north, we were it was winning. It was built good fun. We were definitely fitter. Like the amount of running we did back then, like we weren't used to that amount of running, like fitness wise at training. But no, I don't think it was a step backwards or losing interest. I absolutely loved it.
And like you said, you got the tap on the shoulder, mate. So did it take much to consider going up to Leeds for the trial? And did you appreciate how big a club Leeds was?
I remember when it happened, it was just like we were playing against Sheffield Eagles and we beat them. And I had I had a really good game. And I remember Barry McDermott and Bob Pickles at Leeds were there, and I think they approached me or they called my parents and they said, "Oh, look, we're really interested and we'd love him to come up on a trial." And I was just like, this is unbelievable. Like watching Leeds Rhinos win all of these competitions all the time. And Kev Sinfield was there, Jamie Peacock, Rob Burrow, Danny Maguires were there. And I was just in awe. And I just kind of pinched myself. Thought, am I good enough? I remember that was a massive thing. Was like, am I good enough? Am I going to go up there and am I going to be found out? Like, is this big buzz of fun going to end soon? And then I remember I had a girlfriend at the time when we were young, and I was actually contemplating not doing it because of a girl. Thank God I didn't, John, and thank God I did it. But yeah, I remember my parents got absolutely mad with me because I was considering not doing it for her. But we did it. No.
So they're all new attributes for you to. It's enough to make someone drown in it, Ollie. Like it must have been a big challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I remember in the team at the time we had, the academy team when I went there with Stevie Ward there. We had Liam Sutcliffe, Brad Singleton, Liam Hood, Paul McShane, Zach Hardacre, Jimmy Kainos, many others that have gone on to other clubs or played a couple of games, And I remember just going there and these guys were just fit. I remember we did a training session up there. It was like literally just going through block plays and up and down the field, and it was a warm up. I remember just blowing out my backside and going, "What is this?" And then they give me a crack. Then I think the following week, I can't remember who it was. It was maybe Wigan, and I played well, like reasonably well. Robbie Mullen was there as well, who's currently in the league. He was there as well. And it was a pretty amazing feeling, just being like, wow, like this is like you're wearing a Leeds Rhinos jersey, like I'm wearing the kit. I remember I was staying in Bob Pickles' attic of his flat, his bungalow, sorry, in Leeds, and I remember just this whole thing of this 17-year-old doing this. I think I might have been the first Welsh player at the stage to do this, going into an academy.
Like, I imagine you were probably one of the very few Welsh lads to go and give it a go.
Yeah, I was. I believe I was the first. I think there was one other Welsh guy, Jack Pring, that came just after me, like maybe 4 or 5 months after me. But
Right.
yeah, I believe I was the first John to do it, and then it just happened so fast. Like it was like a blip that was, but it was one of the best experiences of my life, and it made me realize what is like professional and what is this standard of like if you want to be at this level and play Super League one day, then this is where we're all on this level here.
Yeah. And that's some academy team as well, Ollie, just to slot into, by the way. Like
Mm.
you said, them names, mentioned have carved out a really good career, haven't they, mate? And probably grew up playing rugby league.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great, it was a great experience. I think probably the best thing about it was John was my blindness to those players. Like maybe growing up, if I was local lad, I would have been going, oh crap, like there's Stevie Ward here, there's Brad Singleton here. But I was just like, I didn't know who they were until we got on the field, and I was like, wow, this is a different cloth here, different kettle of fish here. So, but what a great time.
But same for opposition as well, mate. And that you wouldn't have gone, well, I know, like, for instance, Wigan, Liam Farrow in the back row there, or a young back rower runs this way. I've got to try and falsify a dummy line here to get out the back. Do you know what I mean? You can play a blank canvas, mate. You can play what you can see, which is what we all dream of playing. But
Yeah.
there's just that loads of structure now, isn't there, mate? And especially when you're at that level you're talking about.
Yeah, there was a lot of structure there. I remember just going into the team and they had like kind of army calls. I think that was because of Brian Mack's army background. So everything was Tango, Foxtrot, Charlie, Delta. And I remember going up there like, what the heck is all of these about? Just going in I've always been a slow learner to word like calls. I know the call, but I would struggle to pick up the thing. So having the likes of Liam Hood there, Paul McShane, even sometimes in the halves with Stevie Ward, it definitely simplified it. And I was very much eyes up type of player then, so I just watched what was in front of me. And I don't know if you remember back then, John, you could have like 5 over age players from the first team drop down.
Yeah.
So we used to have like, Well Iraqi come back. I think once we had Kylie Luluai after an injury. We had Richard Moore come back. Who was the other guy? There was loads of people throughout the stages that come back, But
You don't want to see them off the dead ball line coming down your channel, mate, do you?
I remember this one time, mate. We had Brad Singleton was coming back. Brad Singleton was playing with us. He's my age, and Stuart Fielden was playing for Wigan, and he ran off the back fence, and Brad absolutely cleaned him up like Fielden was a grown ass man then, you know what I mean? And Brad was just a kid, and I thought, wow, like this is different, like totally different, but unbelievable times.
Yeah. So, how did the chat from a trial to a contract come about, mate? And was it an easy decision for you?
Oh, it was. Yeah, I remember Barry McDermott took me into a room after like 2 months, 3 months, and he just said, "Look, man, we want to extend it. We see a lot of potential in you." And this is my first ever time. Like not my first ever time. Like this was the first time I've been in a room and proper like sat there and tried to negotiate. I know the other guy who was looking after me said you need to get an agent. Probably didn't need an agent, but he thought for my young naivety he'd like to help. But yeah, it was a no brainer to sign another contract and get off the trials. Like I was happy just there, my digs was covered from Leeds and wasn't making much money, but it wasn't about the money then. It was literally the opportunity.
The opportunity. Yeah, I love that, mate. That's what it's about, isn't it? Any standout moments then from like, was that been a reserve then, Ollie? Was you playing reserves?
Yeah. Reserves. What was the standout moments back then, John? Probably, I think it was just beating teams like Wigan, beating teams like Warrington and St Helens. Beating St Helens, and I remember we beat St Helens at home, and Headingley. We were always the curtain raiser for the first team, and like Headingley would get packed out. So by half time, the crowd's packed, and you're just running onto a field against St Helens and beating them, and or it was scoring a try or getting a man of the match. That was probably one of the best things. we used to get, if you get man of the match, you'd get like the butchers would give you like this big tray of meat.
Yeah,
So
like a hamper.
yeah, mate. So
Yeah.
that was the best thing ever. I think the old fella I was living with was cheering too because he didn't have to buy food for the couple of weeks then either.
So when you play in, mate, and like, was there ever a time when you did feel like this is my level? You know, where you said you were questioning yourself before you went for your trial. Did you settle enough to think you were good enough there?
Um, I think I was kind of like I never thought that I was the best. I always thought I was just a hard working guy. And if I just continued to be hard working, opportunities would come. I remember like before training, so I'd have a day job on Leeds Arena, being a labourer there, and I'd go to training. But I got to a stage where I was just leaving work super early or not going, and I would literally get to training early, get a bag of balls, and just start goal kicking before training on my own, just to show that I'm here to. I want this really bad, you know.
Messing about, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and no, I probably you know probably a bit of self doubt at Leeds, and I don't think you'd ever think you were good enough. You'd look at the first team and go, like, there's levels to this. I remember we had one training session against the first team, and I remember Cal Watkins was opposite me, and he absolutely skittled me with footwork, and I thought, yeah, like I still got a long way to go, but as long as I keep turning up, keep working hard, something will come from this. I always got complimented by the coach and staff for my hard work, and you know, when you got likes of people like Barry McDermott recognizing you and telling you you're doing well with what he's achieved in the game, or Brian Mack grabbing you aside and pulling you aside and telling you, you know, keep doing this or tipping you on this, that, and the other. It was a nice feeling, but I never got complacent there. Never.
Well, it's like probably underplaying your ability, but if you've got loads of talent and don't work hard, mate, the fella working harder than you will get picked, won't he? Whether he's got as much talent as you or not. So you had the right mindset, mate, didn't you? And the right attitude. You give it your best shot. That's all you can ever ask for. Put your best
Yeah,
foot forward.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what come on the back of Leeds, mate?
Well, how it worked was so that last year was the year that they went from reserve team to under 19s. But like a couple of weeks before this, there was rumours, and I got offered a contract by to do another year. It was like peanuts, but it was like full time. You play reserve team, and I was like, wow, amazing. But I was like, the offer was not like it was very poor, but it was more like it's prestigious. And I remember saying to Barry McDermott in the second negotiating of the second contract, I said, look, man, we got Wakefield on the weekend. I'm going to prove to you I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, okay. And then I remember played that weekend and I did my ACL. And he went, oh, I remember then the reserve grade thing went out the window and it was under 19s and it was just like that contract went. So for me, it was rehabbing the ACL. I went home. I think I played one preseason game for the Scorpions, and then I had an offer come through the door off Ipswich Jets in Queensland in Australia. And I was always wanted to go to Australia. Always wanted to do it, and that was my opportunity. So I took that opportunity, and went there at 19 years old.
Right. So pre-ACL injury, mate, how would you been with injuries or niggles?
Pre it, I was good. No major issues. You know, you'd get the odd, like niggles, but nothing major. You know, very blessed before that knee injury. No serious injuries.
Right. And then when the ACL happened, did you know it was serious as well, mate?
Oh, I remember literally I kicked the ball through against Wakefield and grubbing it through, and as I ran through the chase, the fullback picked the ball up, and as he just stepped, and as I tried to go for him, I just remember hearing this pop noise in my knee, and it was like an absolutely killing pain. Hit the deck, and I was like, I couldn't. That was probably the worst ever feeling ever. And then I remember getting carried off, and then that was the process then of like Yeah, I didn't probably knew. I don't think it was like depression or anything at that stage. I didn't know what it was, but I just was very sad about
Yeah.
like everything was going well. I was playing good, and this contract came, and there was a rumor that Wigan were interested in me, and then this happened, and then yeah, that's just part and parcel of it.
No, it is, and at least you've got the mindset again to understand that, mate. I mean, yeah, through harsh reality a little bit as well, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but at least you understand that. So, how did you find the rehab, mate? Was it all done on your own through the NHS and stuff?
So Leeds covered it, but they did it back in Wales. So I did the surgery in Wales and I did the rehab there. Um, and it was kind of like, yeah, just did it with a physio down here. But I was so young, John, that
Yeah,
I came back too early. I think I came back after 6 months of a knee reconstruction, which is so early. Realistically, you should be coming back 9 to 12 months. But just being eager and probably not having like a club or a team be like, hey, stop rushing it. You're a kid.
yeah,
Um, and I was just eager to get back. And then, yeah, I like my goal then was just go over to the Scorpions, did a bit of preseason there. My intention was never to be there long, but it was more about being back in a team environment to get it right, play a trial game, and then go from there. And then, yeah, the Australian opportunity came in. So,
right. So, how does that come about, mate? Who did they reach out to get to you, sort of thing?
so we had at the time in the Scorpions, we had 3 Australians in the team, and I always said to them, "Man, I'd love to go to Australia." And he said, "I'll tell you what, I've got a contact over there which might help." And he reached out to Steve Johnson, the chairman at Ipswich Jets, and I sent over my highlights reel of playing for Leeds. Within like a week, contract came through, open return flights, and yeah, I was like, let's do this. And no fear at 19 years old, John is this, so I just did it.
Brilliant. At least you didn't have to get in someone's bag, mate. You could just walk in there off your own back, couldn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're obviously not scared of a challenge. Ollie, are you? There's one thing going to Leeds, mate. It's another
Yeah.
thing going the other side of the world, and it's how was it?
Oh, it was tough. Especially the first 3 to 5 months, 3 to 6 months maybe were tough. I was homesick, sick. The mad thing about it was that one game I played for the Scorpions, and we played Oldham, and the winger Mo, who was actually with me at Leeds, he tackled me and landed on my ankle, and I did something really bad to my ankle, and I thought nothing of it, rehabbed it, and got on the plane over there. And I actually couldn't play for the first 2 months because my ankle was no good. And then I found out I needed to have. I got it jabbed, and I was playing. I played a couple of games to finish off that season, and then I had to have a ankle surgery at the end of that season. So it was a pretty tough transition, but it was amazing at the same time. Like the environment was there. Like the Jets were connected to the Broncos. Ben and Shane Walker were our coaches. So Ben played for Leeds Rhinos for a bit, and they played for Manly. His brother and him played for the Rabbitohs together. So Ben's son is Sam Walker, who plays for the Roosters now.
Yeah,
So it was a great environment, and they treated me as their own. I stayed at their house for 3 months at the start, and yeah, what an experience! As in, it was daunting. I think it was because of my injury, but apart
yeah,
from that, like doing that over there and just realizing, John, that like the standard and the conveyor belt of quality there, it's no shortage. Like the style of play, everything. It was just like you'd look at one player, especially like the indigenous guys or the Aboriginals, they'd have these skinny legs, they'd have a little bit of a belly, one or two of them would, and you'd be thinking, um, these guys are not good enough. And then as soon as you put a ball in their hand, John, it was just like there was in their DNA. Like, the likes
yeah,
of Matty Bowen, those type of players, you know what I mean? Like they just don't look
yeah.
much, but when they
Brown
got the
Mitchells
ball,
and that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was an unbelievable
like you come out the
experience.
womb with a ball in it, mate. That's what it's like, isn't it?
Honestly, I can't put it into words. Like you'd see them down the park, no shoes on, playing in the streets, and it's just like this is. You can see why Australia and the NRL is such a good standard, and There's this thing in Australia called like the Murray comp, and you've got the Curry comp. So they're the indigenous of New South Wales and Queensland, and you could go to that competition and you'd be in awe of what you'd see, and that's just local, town rugby.
Well, yeah. So for viewers and listeners that might not know, mate, it's probably got a bit more popular because Adokar played and Trell played and Coldy, didn't he? And obviously he had a few issues with a few of the local boys, didn't he? But no, I remember when I went to Sydney, mate, with a friend, and we were walking into the city centre from Woolloomooloo, and there's a bit of a park to the right before you get to like Westfield Centre and that,
Yeah.
and it was just tag all through the park. And like you said, some of them didn't even have trainers on, and some of the
Mm.
finishes and the passing ability and that
Yeah.
it's lightning fast. You
So
could
it's,
probably play it a bit. I couldn't.
well, I think I'd avoid playing. I think I used to be like, I'd save myself. But that's one thing I wish we brought over to the UK is that touch rugby or tag, like properly the way they do it, like the fundamentals, the skill sets, the people who are high end NRL players now all grew up playing touch footy, and then
Yeah, Sean
coming.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's pretty amazing.
Was it everything you wanted it to be then, mate? Certainly sounds that way.
Yeah, I just at the stage I remember like the chat was like I was trying to get into the Broncos and the 20s team because I was still young enough to do it.
Yeah.
But I had that ankle injury, so that was like I was gunning for that. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. I learned a lot as well. Just learned a lot about myself at this stage. I'm 19 in Australia. Um, Very naive, but just beautiful people there. Beautiful people just looked after you as well.
No need for that Gavin Ensign fate tanning us, mate, is there?
No, I was actually, I remember I was getting in trouble all the time because I'd forget to put sun cream on and I'd be like this
Yeah.
brute. But yeah, it was good times, really good times, John.
So how old was you when playing for Wales come about, mate?
I was 17 or 18, just signed with Leeds, and I was like in that trial
In the
period.
senior setup as well.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Harris was the coach, Lee Breers was assistant, and Damien Gibson was the other assistant, and it was kind of like they were giving youngsters a crack with the older heads, like these academy boys at the time. Rodri Lloyd was at Wigan, I was at Leeds. I think Ben and Reese were injured, so they weren't available. But yeah, it was like this moment of that was a crazy one. I remember we had Thomas Bosch against me. Yeah, that was a crazy one. And we had Danny Ward. Yeah, Danny Jones. Sorry, Danny Jones, who passed away from Keighley in the halves with me. Great player. Just an unbelievable experience. With Craig Kopchak, Jordan James, Michael Channing. There's loads of names in that team, and I just remember thinking like, wow, I'm playing for my country at this age. 2 years ago, I was getting told I was too small to play rugby union, and this is all happening, John.
Was it a nice redemption, that, mate? Did it? I know you've not turned around and put the middle finger up, but
Oh,
I bet you felt like it, didn't you?
yeah, definitely. You got to remember as well, like it's so backwards down here. Like at that stage, league was like, oh, we don't want to talk about that sport down in South Wales. It was very union dominated. I remember even when I was young, in the newspapers, you'd have to change your name. If you scored a try, you change your name playing league to union because they would like to be disgusted if you played it. So we used to hide it. So like for me, doing all of this was like proving people wrong. I think that was definitely the core behind all of this, John. Yeah.
You'd think your area would be mega proud when, like, you've said how many of you have come through and
Mm.
done really good things, not just for your area, mate, but for your
Mm.
country.
Yeah.
Why would that not be like big, bold, capital letters everywhere? But I understand it's that divide, isn't it?
It's just old school, John. Like
Yeah.
even my rugby union team, it sounds bitter now, but they've never asked for a jersey or a photo in the club. And I'm
I'll
thinking,
go back and have a chat with the lads or nothing, no. Not no
never,
junior teams, if anything.
no junior team, like on my rugby union team growing up, like there's no photo of me in the club, but it's full of photos of people my age who have played regionals and stuff in the union space. So it's very small minded at times.
Bizarre, yeah, it is strange.
Yeah.
Even now, though, in it, even now, like we're going to talk through what you've been through and that, aren't we? And what a lesson that could be just to one kid that you
Yeah,
go down and speak to.
100%, John. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very big. Yeah.
So the move to Swinton, was that next, mate, after it switched Jets?
No, no. So I was in
No.
Australia for 11 years. So I only came
Oh
back.
wow.
Only came back last November. I came back for the World Cup, but prior to that, 11 years in Australia. So I played for Ipswich Jets, went to South Logan Magpies, which are all
Yeah.
in Quinton Cup, and then I finished up at East Tigers. So um, East Tigers was a pretty prolific team then because they were a feeder team to Melbourne Storm. So we had at stages we had Christian Welsh, Brody Croft was in the halves with me. We had Billy Walters, a hooker. Scott Drinkwater was our fullback. Brandon Smith was a hooker. So I remember after two ACLs, and like at that stage, I thought my days are numbered of trying to make it. I remember I rang up the coach at East Tigers, which are called Brisbane Tigers now. And I said,
Right.
look, man, I'm not looking here for a big contract. I just want an opportunity. And this was after two ACLs, two ankle surgeries, and other minor issues. And I remember he said, "Look, man, come for a trial." I was like, "That's all I need at this stage." I was 24, 25, no, 24. He said, "That's all I need." I remember doing the preseason, and I was probably the fittest I've ever been. After everything, I was like, "I am flying right now." And I think after round 4, I made the first team. I remember you're looking left and right, and there's state of origin players in this team. There's a
Yeah.
Kiwi international. There's a man of steel, Brody Croft, in the team. Not at that stage, but he was touted at Melbourne Storm that he was the next Cooper Cronk.
It was,
Um,
mate. There was big raps about him, weren't there?
yeah, so for me, like that was my journey, and yeah, I wish I played more games because of injuries. But at the same time, man, I'm very blessed to be able to say that I've played with some of these players and played against other NRL players right now. I remember even Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, who's in the Gold Coast Titans captain, was our lock. So yeah, pretty amazing team.
So the next ACL, same knee or different same knee?
All on the same knee. Yeah. So I did my first one was at Leeds Rhinos. My second one was at South Logan Magpies, and then the third one was at East Tigers, which are called Brisbane Tigers. Then, so that was my
You've done
last
it
one.
3 times.
3 on the right knee, yeah. 3
Yeah,
ACLs.
that's resilience, that, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was tough, John. I'll be honest, mate. Like it was, um, like I'm sure we'll get into it in a minute, but it was my darkest days were definitely throughout those second and third ACL. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so we chatted Wales then. So you broke through quite early, mate, didn't you? And did you ever think like it was a given? Did you take Wales for granted, or did you know you had to be playing well to play for Wales?
No, it was always I had to play well. Like at that stage, Lee Breeze just retired. Lloyd White was one of the halfbacks, and the other halfback. I'm trying to think who it was at that stage. Was Webster? Is it Ian Webster? He's
Yeah,
yeah, he was the other halfback. And after France, and then I did that season then with Leeds, and I did my ACL, so I missed out on that World Cup, which was due in the UK. And
yeah,
then the second one was in Australia. I missed out on that one due to another ACL, and I was gutted, mate, like shattered. Like I'd get a couple games. I won a European Championship with Wales in between those periods, but then I was like, I want to play in the World Cup, and
yeah,
then I thought I'm never going to get this, and then having those 4 years off from East Tigers after the third ACL, I said I'm done. I'm absolutely done now. I'm not going to play this anymore. And then my brother, not my last year in July, my brother was playing, and I was just doing triathlons by this stage, John. I've gone into doing
yeah.
triathlons and doing other
Just
things.
another challenge.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, just got into
Yeah,
other aspects. I wanted to. It was a journey of finding myself and kind of who am I without this identity. And my brother
Yeah,
said, "Look, man, do you want to come play a couple games? We're near the fact like semis and quarters of the comp. Do you want to have a game?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Come on, just have a couple games." And I said, "You know what? After nagging me for ages, I played, and then I played for a team called Valleys, um, Valley Diehards, and a former team of Wally Lewis. So it was a pretty prestigious team, but they were a league below the Queensland Cup. It was still a good standard,
right.
and
Yeah,
started playing there. I enjoyed the first game. Like it was, I felt like it was just fun again. It was like that itch was there, and then played the rest of that season. And I remember coming to the end of the season, the team manager of Wales rang me and he said, "Hey, look, we've seen on YouTube live streams you're playing again. Looks like you're doing well. Would you be open to being in the Welsh squad before we cut it down?" And I said, "No, I don't want to be involved." And he goes, "Look, I understand what you've been through. Have a think about it." And I think we played the quarters or semi-finals then, and we played the quarters and we won. I thought, you know what, just tell him, look, put my name in the hat, but if I don't get selected, I don't get selected. And
yeah,
basically, yeah, I got selected then for the World Cup, and I played in the most recent one in the UK in 2022.
yeah. So was it like a nice way to finish?
Yeah, I absolutely, out of all the coaches I've had, I absolutely love John Keir. John Keir's, um, what he's done, and if you ever want a motivational speaker, get John Keir. Um, the way he did the World Cup really made me proud to be Welsh. Before games, he'd get speakers in, or he'd we'd have video footage of our country and understanding what our country did. Like the people before us who made Wales a rugby league team and made us really proud to be Welsh. And I don't know if you noticed in the World Cup, but like playing against Tonga, playing against Cook Islands, we really give it to them. And I
yeah,
think that was really down to John's speeches. And I remember the Papua New Guinea game, he did a video with our parents saying how proud they were for us to play for Wales. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the room before the PNG game. And yeah, it was amazing. Like it was so much more than just playing that World Cup. It was the whole duration of the surgeries, the injuries, the depression, the being in a hospital bed thinking, is this my life over mentality? And yeah, it was definitely a nice way to ride it out.
I was gonna say, mate, everything probably felt a little bit worthwhile, even them shitty bits,
Yeah.
didn't they? Just when you're pulling like you sat, I imagine when you're walking and you see like six on the back of a well stop and knowing you're starting, and
Mm,
you must just look and think, wow,
mm.
you must get flashbacks and that, mate, because it's all part of why you're there, and it is your rugby story.
Yeah, definitely. Like reflecting back on it, because I knew that this ain't gonna happen again. I remember just sitting there in the change room at the end of the game, or in training, and just really enjoying every moment. Really having fun, but training hard and buying into everything. And um, yeah, I just think the players that have been there with me, and Ben and Reefs, like we were 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds together playing in Bridgend in Wales, and here we are now in the Welsh squad all together finally. Not many people can say they played with two of their mates that they were in class with in maths at grade 8 and now in the World Cup together.
Yeah, no, it's special, mate, and it's what sport can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you've witnessed both sides of that. Yeah,
it's changed my life. Sports definitely changed my life, John, and I wouldn't be who I am today without it. Simple as that.
yeah. No, I love that, mate. So in that big space, then, mate, when rugby was no longer the end goal of a training method or a prep or a match day, because there's a lot of sacrifice that fans are sort of getting to see a little bit more now, but don't fully understand that, Ollie. It's like you've gone halfway across the world to make a name for yourself again after being
Mm.
told you're too small or you've ruptured your knee completely. So what happens to Ollie Olds in that gap between last playing and having a little run out with your brother because he's married you to death?
Yeah. So in that 4-year gap, probably so this was the third knee reconstruction, and the surgeon said to me, look, because this is your third knee reconstruction, you've got basically 2 pre-existing holes in the bottom, like your tibia and fibia, and then you've got 2 going up to the top of your knee, with a knee into your femur. And he said, basically, if we drill into another hole in there now, which is going to make it 3, it's going to make it weak, pretty much like a timber. If you drill into a timber, you start to get cracks. So he said, what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to break your patella, use that, fill in the holes like a fill-in, wait 6 months, and then you can do your next reconstruction. And on top of that, what he identified was, John, that my tibia and fibia bone was on a 13-degree angle. So he realized, because it was on an angle, and how I did my last knee reconstruction wasn't stepping, it wasn't anything. I was literally running back towards the line 10 meters, and as I turned, just felt my knee give. So it was nothing. Yeah. He realized, because of the angle of it, John, that they needed to straighten it out. So what they actually did was they broke my tib and fib bone, straightened it out, cut a wedge in it, and put a metal strip on it. And so this was like an 18-month recovery to get back fit again. But because he had to break the bone, I remember it. I was in the hospital bed. They said, you're going to have to stay in for 5 days because of how much has happened in your knee right now. They had a nerve blocker in my thigh to numb the leg. And I remember it was like a day or 2 there. I had friends come through. And then I remember it was like 3 days then of just being on my own with my thoughts. And I remember it was just really tough. And I remember it wasn't essentially, John, like I've got a plan, I'm going to end my life. It was more, I don't want to be here anymore like this. And over the time prior to that, there was like, the second one before that, was this anxiety of getting this tight feeling in my chest, overthinking, who am I without this? I remember every time I got injured, I really lost who I was and I lost my way. I wasn't a big drinker, but I definitely turned to the party life the third time around to kind of fix this feeling I was getting of who I was and get this temporary fix. And basically from then, I knew, I pushed so many people away from me that I knew that I needed to make a change. And once I probably accepted after the third knee reconstruction, probably like a couple months after, I realized that I'm done playing. All I want to do then was just get my knee right, get fixed, but actually try and figure out who I was. What is Ollie Olds without rugby league? What career do I want to go down? And then I really started to surround myself with the right people. It took a while. Surround myself with the right people and people who want to see you do better, people who believe in you, put confidence in you. And the hardest part was, John, was a lot of people experience it when you retire, but you're in this band of brotherhood when you're in this environment, right? You're in every WhatsApp group, you're in every message of the socials of this is what's happening in rugby. And when you leave the rugby circle, those messages slowly drift away. And it's a really hard pill to swallow because you realize you're like, wow, I'm on my own now. And that was kind of like the stage for me then. I started just finding who I was in that period. I met some amazing people, in particular this one guy who just was there, supported me, guided me, and believed in me. And that's all it takes sometimes, is just having one person, when you're in that dark hole, believe in you. He's not going to get you out the hole, but just having someone to believe in you that you can get out of this is what you need sometimes. And I definitely had this guy, and his name was Russell Harper. And he changed my life. And from that, then I realized that when you go through something, I believe that you need to be able to help others go through things, then give people a sense of purpose, a belonging, community, and giving someone structure and accountability in their life. These are things that can change your life, and which changed my life. And I'm very passionate about that now, is helping people get that clarity back in their life, get that meaning again. So that's a short form of it anyway, John.
No, but I bet it's real rewarding, mate, and thanks for your honesty in that. I can't necessarily be easy. You know, you probably had a little bit of practice of encouraging yourself to do it and speak, because you sometimes got to walk the walk as well, Ollie, when you're getting clients and that, haven't you? They've got to understand you. Not only do you know it mentally through textbook or other experience, but through your own, because sometimes, mate, people need to see you walk the walk, don't they?
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Appreciate that, mate.
I appreciate that, John. I think, it's like, how can I give advice to someone if I've never experienced those things, that lack of purpose, clarity, and having meaning, or waking up and struggling to get out of the bed in the morning? How can I feel your pain and show empathy towards you if I've never felt that, but I've felt every part of that? And it's like, well, trust me, man, you do X, Y, and Z, there's light at the end of the tunnel for you, So, and I believe that's my purpose right now, is giving people that meaning and transforming their personal life, or that's their business, or their, just having more meaning in their life. That's my calling right now.
Right, so I know where to find you, mate, because of my beginning up. But for people, if they're stuck in that rut or they think they need a bit of guidance, where can they find you, Ollie?
I have a website, ollieolds.com. I have the podcast, Walkers Only Podcast, or at ollie.olds on Instagram. You can find me. But yeah, man, I'm sure if you just type my name into something, it'll pop up. But yeah, there's plenty of options.
Oh, class, mate. And so when you come back and had a run out at home, mate, for Swinton, how did that chat come about? Did it take much persuading, and how did it go?
Yeah, like I was umming and ahhing because I thought the World Cup's going to be me done. Ticked a massive box off, and my business was thriving at this stage. But there was always a stage of me, John. There was like, I've been away from the UK from the age of 19 to 30, 29.
Yeah.
And we had Rodri Lloyd in the team, and we had Mike Butt in the Welsh team. Gav Bennion was there. Yeah, and they basically, Rod was like, look, why don't you do a season? You've still got something to offer. Why don't you do a season? And I thought, I've always wanted to try and play over here, like Championship or make Super League, obviously. I thought, why not? This is going to be my last hurrah. Let's do it. And then the coach at the time, Alan Coleman, who's now at Widnes, we spoke back and forth, and yeah, it was pretty straightforward from there. So yeah, lived in Standish for the most of that time, mate, and yeah, it was good times.
Oh, good, mate. And nice to be able to finish on your terms as well, rather than an injury in that, Ollie.
To be fair, mate, I'll be honest with you. I picked up a groin injury which was hindering me the whole season, so I didn't play as much as I should have, but I played. But yeah. I'll be honest with you, I was at peace. I was at peace with everything, because from that kid at 15 who got that issue of being too small, and I was feeling like I had something to prove my whole life. You realize the only person you need to prove to is myself, and I was very comfortable with myself at this stage of, not many people can come back from one ACL or two ACLs, but three ACLs, and then still play in the World Cup against Tonga, Cook Islands, and Papua New Guinea, and play in the Championship. I feel like I've been blessed, man. So, like, from my perspective, to do that, it might not have been a grand final, or it might not have been a Challenge Cup, but
it was your grand final, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was happy with that. I'm grateful for everything that's happened.
Yeah, it's nice that though you had a niggle, it's nice to wear a happy ending, isn't it? It's like you managed everything you've been through. You still managed to go out on your own terms, which must be lovely for you and the family as well. Because unfortunately for you and them, you couldn't be near each other for two of them major injuries, and probably two shitty parts of your life for 9 to 12 months, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Just like, I don't know, most parents, if you're telling them we've had these injuries and you're telling them how you're feeling, it's not much they can do over a phone. But there was probably I've given my parents probably a couple of grey hairs, mate. But that, and just then coming back here and, seeing my mum's face and playing for Wales, and, giving her one of my jerseys, and, you just remember just mum and dad taking you to training as a 7-year-old. And then as a driving every second week up to Leeds to watch me play from Wales, devoting the weekend to me, and it's far bigger than me. It's about everyone that's devoted part of their life for me. So that was for them.
Brilliant, mate. And memorabilia wise, are you someone that used to keep all the stuff, mate? Because I'm quite sentimental. I would have.
Believe it or not, I give all of my kit away. I might regret it one day. There was a woman, it was an amazing woman at Swinton that was the gate woman for us to park in there. And she was a very selfless woman, and she probably wouldn't get paid for doing what she did. So, end of the season, she had my training kit. My jerseys went to my sponsor. Mum's got my Welsh kit. And there's a barber shop in Wales who's got one of my jerseys. I got a Felice Kafusi top from the Tonga game. So, if you want that, mate, you can have that off me, John. But
no, I wouldn't take it off you, mate. I'm just saying, like, I'm quite sentimental. I'd have been stingy.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. I think being on the field was a memorable moment. The only one I kept, I think, was I've kept 2 of my Welsh jerseys. My first one. I'll tell you a story before we have to wrap it up, John. But when I played for France, and I went back then to Leeds Rhinos, and one weekend I came home. And I looked at my Welsh jersey, it was on the line. And I came home to my parents' house in Wales. I said, Mum, why is my Welsh jersey on the line? She goes, Elliot, your younger brother, wore it rugby training the other day. If he did, he got a good beating off me, mate, of seeing that jersey on the line that was recently played against France. I obviously wanted to show it off, but you don't do those things. But yeah, most of my kit's with family, grandparents and stuff like that. But,
well, like you said, the pitch was the memory for you, mate, wasn't it? And if they can share the memory by a pair of shorts, a top, or a program, it's a nice touch.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many people who are volunteers at games that are so selfless. They deserve the kit sometimes because of what their actions are. So that's a sense of purpose to them, is weekend watching their local team and buying a pie or a beer or a drink at a game and supporting. Like, those are the people who deserve it more than anyone.
Yeah, was that Haywood Road that then, mate?
Haywood Road, yeah.
Yes,
it was Sale FC's ground as well.
Yeah, I hope you didn't park behind the post, mate. Did you?
No, we were behind the stand, thank God, because
the posh end.
Yeah, the posh end, mate.
Right, mate. So, 3 daft questions for you, if that's all right.
Yes.
So, what were you like with pre-match superstitions?
Pre-match superstitions. I didn't have many. I just knew. This is maybe a Gavin Henson thing, but I used to shave my legs before a game. That was the only thing I would do, mate. Yeah, especially in Australia. Not over a year, but when I was younger, I used to shave the legs before a game.
Yeah, isn't it mad? Like the impact, like people can have on people. Do you know, like the Wilkinson stance and Dan Bigger soon took over that sort of thing, didn't they? And Gab's like spiky hair, tan, and smooth legs. Nah, I like it, mate. So the next words, like, different for everybody, mate. The meaning can mean various things to various people. But the toughest player you played with and played against.
Toughest player I played with. There was a guy for Ipswich Jets. His name was Kieran Lander. He wasn't the biggest of names, but he had the biggest of hearts. And he played for the Reds in Rugby Union, and then he came over to Ipswich, and I think he might have had one game for the Broncos. One of the toughest guys, just put his body in places that you would never dare. He was so tough. He's got to be up there. And the player I played against who was tough. Probably one of them Tongans. Probably what's his name? A sofa. The prop we played. Not Solomon, the other one. He played for the Warriors, the prop for them, and he played for Tonga. Is it a sofa?
Anyway, did you have to feel him? Did you?
Yeah, he did my AC joint against Tonga at the end.
Did
He
he?
whacked me at the end. I'm trying to think of his name. It'll come to me. But yeah, he was a tough guy. Prop for the Warriors and Tonga. That guy. It'll come to
Sorry to go slightly off, but do you know when you said the first lad was a convert over there? Did you see much of that?
me.
Because with you knowing both codes, Ollie, you'll know certain traits that suit like one or the other game, won't you?
Yeah. There wasn't loads. There was a couple, but the thing is, right? It's very Union is very private school, and League is very public over there, and the separation in the two is like crazy. So you wouldn't have many Union boys come over, but I think he was a League guy that got an opportunity to go to the Reds and then come back. Um,
Yeah.
there's not many Brad Thorns that did the whole thing, but yeah, he was a Warwick Lander was.
Right, mate. So your favourite away ground that you've played at?
Favorite away ground.
Yeah.
Um, it's got to probably St Helens.
Yeah. The new. Do you like the newer style grounds, Ollie?
No, I like the old school, mate. I like the old.
Yeah.
And another one, which was a great one to be at, just because of the abuse, was Cass Tigers. Cass for
For the
Tigers.
tonto.
Yeah, mate. That was a good one when I was younger, especially when you beat them. So it was you'd get some old woman giving you some shit in the stand, which was good
Yeah.
times.
Well, it's a derby for you as well. Well, like,
Yeah.
probably without you knowing it, wasn't it?
Mm.
So if you could go back, mate, and have a chat with the younger Ollie, what would you tell yourself?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Probably just say that. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just keep work, like, yeah, just like keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about anything else, and stay in your own lane. I think sometimes when we'd have people come back from NRL teams, you start sweating. You start worrying. Crap, am I not going to play anymore, or this, that, and the other. Really, I just wish I just did what I did best, and I was just expressing myself at times. Like probably that would have been it. Just stay in your lane and focus on you.
Right, mate. And if you're out and you've had a few and the microphone ends up in your hand, mate, what are you going to give us on karaoke?
I think I'd say Uncle Cracker. What's his name? Uncle Cracker. Follow me. Area of that. Oh, I'm not going to sing it on you, but that would be
Nearly.
probably that, or probably one of the Oasis songs. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
Wonderwall. I've heard it so many times that I can't go there anymore. But
Something that people can join in with, like.
yeah, you've got to get one that within like 10 words they're already starting to sing along to it. Those type of songs, because you ain't doing it. You ain't doing it as solo. I remember at Swinton this year. I did a Biggie Smalls song. I rapped it, and I realised no one was jumping in on a Biggie Smalls song.
That's a good effort, that though, mate.
Yeah,
Eh?
yeah. The dice roll was out, and I got to do that.
All right, okay. We'll leave that where it is, eh?
Yeah, some dangerous ones on that dice roll. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like you mentioned, the camaraderie and that you potentially miss when you walk away from the game. It's them. You mentioned the bus journeys and that, but it's the drinks on the bus journeys coming back and the dice rolls that when your back's against the wall under your own post, mate, defending your third step, that you see it out, isn't it? It's them moments that are created through
Yeah.
them.
You can't express it like those long journeys back. The banter, the laughter. There's it's a bit of crude humor in league, and like it's in loads of sports environments. It's that banter that most people would in an office you probably get sacked, or HR would know about it and you're out. But they're the things that actually build that team. That the stories that don't get shared outside of those rooms. They build the character, and when your back's against the wall, you got 12 other blokes that are willing to go to war with you. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're willing to, mate, a 1 to 13 that you played with.
I wrote it down. Thank God. I've got number 1 Scott Drinkwater.
Yeah.
Winger is a guy from Ipswich, Wes Conlon. He was great. 3 Marion Sevi, who was at the Storm. Zach Hardacre was 4. I put my brother in there, James, as the winger, because my brother was probably he should have gone on for more, to be fair, than what he did. Brody Croft was 6. There was a guy, number 7 I got is Josh Cleland. So he's a guy in Australia. He played with us at Ipswich Jets, and he took my position actually. And after that, he went to the Bulldogs, and he should have played first team NRL. Number 8.
Do you see a lot of that, Ollie? Sorry, have you noticed a lot of talent that you think they should be ripping it up and just don't get the cut for some reason or other?
Yeah, just didn't get it because of, their face didn't fit in the team, or the style of play. Like NRL is very structured, and then you've got these. It's loosening up a bit now, but at that stage, that player was so off the cuff, he could create something out of nothing. But if that doesn't suit your plans of getting to X, Y, and Z, then they'd rather put someone in there who's very structured instead and stick to that, John. So
maybe over here would have suited him then, eh? A bit like Rangi Chase.
Yeah, Rangi Chase.
Yeah.
Look, he would have suited it so much over you. There's so many players in the Queensland Cup and New South Wales Cup that could come over here and do a right job. Maybe the visas don't let them, but yeah. Number 8 I got is Ben Hannett. 9 Brandon Smith. 10 Christian Welsh. 11 Kurt Catewell. He was my roommate at one stage. 12 is Morgan Knowles. 13 was Tino Fa'asumwali. 14 was Billy Walters. 15 was Stevie Ward. 16 Wella Haraki. And I went for the Welsh at the end. 17 Rodri Lloyd.